Let me tell you a story. There was once a young woman named Livia who lived in a small village. She was kind, giving, and full of dreams. One day, a charming traveler arrived, praising her endlessly, drawing her closer with promises of shared futures. But soon, Livia found herself drained. Every success was belittled. Every failure was magnified. She started to doubt her own mind, her own strength. One evening, broken and exhausted, she walked into the woods, seeking answers. There, under the cold gaze of the stars, she remembered something her grandfather had taught her. You are the guardian of your soul. Never hand the keys to someone who delights in watching you bleed. They drain your energy, not build it. There is a weariness that sleep cannot cure, a heaviness that no meal, no medicine, no vacation can lift. If you have felt it, you know. It is not caused by overwork, by circumstance, or even by grief. It is the silent theft of your life force by those who feed on your spirit without ever giving back. It is the fatigue of standing too long in the presence of those who drain, diminish, and devour. Toxic people are not always loud. They do not always curse your name. Often, they wear the mask of care, the disguise of need, the cloak of woundedness. They come not with knives in hand, but with open arms, yet each embrace leaves you emptier than before. The tragedy is that they often appear when we are most open, most giving, most full of hope. And because we are compassionate, because we are built to love and to trust, we do not see the subtle erosion of ourselves until we are nearly hollow. There is a difference between a person who occasionally leans on you and a person who lives to drain you. True friendships, true bonds, are built on reciprocity. When one falls, the other lifts. When one stumbles, the other reaches out. This exchange, this mutual giving, creates a rhythm that strengthens both souls. But when you are caught in the gravity of a truly toxic presence, that rhythm is broken. The giving is only one way. Your encouragement, your energy, your kindness all flow outward, yet nothing ever returns. You find yourself exhausted after even brief conversations. Your victories feel somehow smaller around them. Your dreams seem more distant. You start to second-guess your excitement, your ambitions, even your goodness. Where once you stood tall, now you shrink. Where once your mind was alive with possibilities, now it is tangled with doubt. They have not shouted you down, they have drained you dry. And here is the most dangerous part. Because this erosion is so gradual, you may blame yourself. You may think, maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe I'm selfish for wanting to feel good about my own life. This is the toxin working as designed, not only stealing your energy but convincing you to sabotage yourself in the process. In the philosophy of Stoicism, we are taught to guard our inner citadel, the fortress of our own mind and spirit. It is not cruel to protect your energy. It is wise, for the truth is harsh but necessary. You cannot save anyone by allowing yourself to be destroyed. You cannot lift another by becoming too weak to stand. Pity can be a doorway that evil walks through. Compassion, when unguarded, can become the very chain that binds you to your own suffering. You must learn to listen to your own body, your own spirit. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. If you are more anxious, more drained, more uncertain, that is not love. That is not friendship. That is not the spirit of growth. That is the presence of decay. There is an old story of a candle burning brightly in a vast hall. Every traveler who passed would light their own small flame from its fire and continue on their way. The candle was glad to give, glad to illuminate the darkness for others. But one day, a man came who did not carry a wick, did not carry a purpose. He simply stood there, day after day, cupping his hands around the flame, stealing its warmth without ever moving on, without ever carrying the light forward. Slowly, the candle guttered lower and lower until it could give no more, not to others, not even to itself. This is what it feels like to be in the orbit of someone who drains your energy. You become a less. And if you do not act, there will come a day when you are too spent to help even those who truly deserve your light. In the face of this truth, there must be courage. The courage to set limits. The courage to walk away. The courage to say, my peace is not negotiable. It will feel harsh at first, especially if you have been conditioned to serve, to fix, to save. But in time, you will see that protecting your energy allows you to become more generous, not laissez, but with those who can truly receive it and build something beautiful alongside you. Some may accuse you of being selfish. Some may weaponly twist your words and manipulate reality. There is a wound deeper than betrayal, sharper than cruelty. It is the slow, deliberate warping of your truth. It is the feeling of standing firm in your honesty, only to watch your words twisted, your intentions questioned, your very sense of reality slipping like sand through your fingers. When toxic people enter your life, one of their sharpest weapons is not open hostility but the quiet, insidious manipulation of your reality itself. It begins so subtly you hardly notice it. A harmless correction here, a casual dismissal there, a slight rephrasing of your memories. At first, you assume misunderstanding. After all, aren't we all flawed? Don't we all remember things a little differently sometimes? But slowly, patterns emerge. You start to doubt what you said, what you meant, what you even saw with your own eyes. You replay conversations in your mind, searching for fault. You hesitate before speaking, worried that your words will be misinterpreted again. This is not mere confusion, now this is the deliberate reshaping of your reality, the crafting of a world in which you are always wrong, always uncertain, always at fault. The Stoics teach us to trust in reason, to anchor ourselves in the clarity of what we know to be true. Yet when faced with skilled manipulators, even the clearest mind can become clouded. They do not attack your beliefs head-on, they erode the foundation piece by piece. They make you feel foolish for remembering events that hurt you. They recast your boundaries as selfishness. They retell your pain as overreaction. And little by little, you shrink not only in the eyes of others but in your own heart. Imagine standing in a beautiful house you have built with your own hands, every wall straight, every stone placed with care. Now imagine someone quietly, daily, moving the stones, tilting the walls, twisting the structure until one day you look around and the house is a maze, a trap, a place where you cannot find your way. This is what it feels like to have your reality manipulated. It is a slow dismantling of everything you have known, everything you have trusted, including yourself. Manipulators are masters of plausible deniability. They rarely attack outright. Instead, they sow seeds of doubt. I never said that. You're imagining things. You're too sensitive. You always overreact. These phrases are not just words, they are attacks on your mind. They are an effort to make you distrust the only thing you truly possess, your own perception. Once they can make you question what you heard, what you felt, what you lived, they hold the leash to your soul. There was once a story told of a sailor who sailed by the stars. Night after night, he navigated the open seas by the light of constellations. But one night, a trickster disguised as a friend whispered to him that the stars had shifted, that he must not trust his own eyes, that the maps he carried were wrong. Confused, doubting himself, the sailor veered off course. Day by day, he drifted farther from safe harbor, lost not because the stars had changed day but because he had been convinced to no longer believe in them. Toxic people do the same. They do not change the truth, they change your belief in the truth. And that is how they win. They do not have to break you by force, they simply persuade you to walk away from your own wisdom, to abandon your own compass. This they resent your growth. There is a loneliness that comes not from walking alone, but from realizing that those you once trusted do not celebrate your becoming. It is a silence sharper than any insult, or the withheld praise, the downturned glance, the forced smile when you speak of your victories. It is a bitterness that clings to your skin like smoke, a coldness you feel even when no harsh word is spoken. When toxic people enter your life, one of the surest signs is their quiet, gnawing resentment of your growth. In the beginning, they may pretend to support you. They may offer hollow applause, words that sound sweet but feel strangely heavy. But soon, as you begin to rise, as you heal, improve, succeed, their true feelings leak through the cracks. They cannot rejoice in your transformation, because to them, your growth is a threat. Your success reminds them of their stagnation. Your healing exposes their wounds. Your light casts shadows where they once felt safely hidden. Growth, true growth, demands courage. It demands humility. It demands the willingness to look at yourself, to admit your flaws, to strive every day to become something better. But not everyone chooses this path. Many people would rather remain exactly where they are, even if it means clinging to misery, bitterness, and excuses. When they see you choosing differently, when they see you rising despite everything that tried to break you, it stirs a rage in them, not because you have harmed them, but because you have disproved their excuses. The Stoics remind us that virtue is the only true good, and that external things, praise, wealth, status, are neither to be celebrated nor mourned. But toxic souls live by a different creed. They measure themselves not against their own potential but against the comfort of their illusions. When you grow, you tear away the veil. You show, simply by living, that they too could have chosen more, and that is a truth many cannot bear. You will notice it in small ways at first: the jokes that cut too deep, the compliments that carry an edge of cruelty, the sudden silence when you share your joy. They may dismiss your achievements as luck. They may diminish your progress with backhanded remarks. They may even shift the conversation away from you, as if your success is an inconvenience they cannot tolerate. Over time, you realize that they are not ignoring you because they are busy or distracted. They are withdrawing because your growth feels like an accusation they cannot answer. There is an ancient story of a phoenix, a creature of fire and renewal, born again from its own ashes. The phoenix once lived among ravens who, while they admired its beauty, secretly despised its strength. Every time the phoenix soared, they cawed in anger, for its flight reminded them of their own heavy wings. They could have learned from it. They could have sought to rise too. But it was easier to sneer from the ground than to build the strength to ascend. So they stayed rooted in the dust, while the phoenix disappeared into the heavens, leaving them with only their bitterness and broken pride. In the same way, toxic people would rather see you fall than face the hard work of rising themselves. They resent the fact that you dared to believe in yourself. They resent the fact that you refused to be defined by your pain. They resent the fact that you chose growth over comfort, discipline over decay, truth over delusion. Their resentment may not always be obvious. Some will mask it under the guise of concern. They will warn you that you are changing too much, growing too fast, forgetting where you came from. They will tell you that your ambition is dangerous, that your dreams are foolish. But beneath their words lies fear, a fear that you will leave them behind, fear that your transformation will make them irrelevant, fear that you will succeed without needing them. In truth, your growth does change things. It changes everything. It shifts the balance. It exposes hidden insecurities. It forces everyone around you to confront the question they would rather avoid. Am I becoming who I am meant to be? Those who are willing to face that question will celebrate you, will be inspired by you, will walk beside you into the unknown. But those who are not will resent you, will sabotage you, will seek to pull you. They violate your boundaries repeatedly. A person's boundaries are sacred. They are the invisible lines that define the space where your soul can breathe freely, where your dignity is protected, where your peace can grow unthreatened. To set a boundary is not to reject love, it is to create a place where real love can live. Yet toxic people see boundaries not as invitations to mutual respect, but as obstacles to control. They do not simply stumble across your limits by accident. They test them, push them, and ultimately violate them again and again, until you are left wondering whether you have the right to have any walls at all. It always begins small. A harmless favor asked, a small request made, a slight discomfort brushed aside. At first, you excuse it. You tell yourself it's nothing. You convince yourself that compromise is part of being kind, of being good, of being loved. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the requests become demands. The slights become slashes. The tiny discomforts become deep wounds. And before long, your life no longer feels like it belongs to you. You are constantly explaining yourself, defending yourself, apologizing for needs you never should have had to justify in the first place. The Stoics teach us to master ourselves, to govern our own hearts and minds, but they also teach us to respect what is ours to protect. Your spirit is yours. Your time is yours. Your energy, your dreams, your peace. These are your responsibilities to guard, not to surrender to the careless or the cruel. And yet toxic people specialize in making you believe that protecting yourself is a sin, that your desire for healthy boundaries is selfish, cold, or unforgiving. They may begin with charm, with warmth, with promises. They will act surprised, hurt, even when you first say number. They will tell you that true loyalty means never turning them away. They will blur the line between helping and harming, until you cannot tell the difference between sacrifice and self-destruction. And once they realize that you are willing to bend, they will never stop pressing against the edge of what you allow. There was once a story of a fortress built on a hill. Its gates were strong, its walls high. Inside lived a community that flourished in peace and trust. One day, a group of travelers arrived, seeking shelter from the storm. The guards, moved by compassion, opened the gates. The travelers entered with gratitude, but among them were those who had no intention of leaving. Slowly, they demanded more space, more food, more control. The leaders, reluctant to seem cruel, gave in, inch by inch, until the fortress no longer belonged to its people. It had become a prison built by their own kindness, a stronghold overtaken because they mistook surrender for compassion. So too with your boundaries. Toxic people do not violate them by accident. They violate them because they sense that you doubt your right to enforce them. They exploit your kindness, your empathy, your longing to be loved, and they use these virtues as weapons against you. Each time you say yes when you mean no, each time you remain silent when you are hurt, each time you forgive without change, they learn a little more about how far they can go. The violation of boundaries is not always loud. Sometimes it is dressed in affection. I only want what's best for you. I know you better than you know yourself. You're overthinking it. Just trust me. These phrases sound harmless, even loving, but their purpose is to erode your sense of authority over your own life. They are designed to make you question your instincts, your limits, your sovereignty. And the most dangerous part, the longer you allow these violations, the harder it becomes to recognize yourself. You begin to adapt to the invasion. You begin to rationalize the harm. You begin to believe that peace means enduring whatever others choose to impose upon you. But that is not peace. That is servitude. That is the slow, quiet death of your spirit. Toxic people will often respond to your boundaries with outrage, guilt-tripping, or playing the victim. They will accuse you of being cruel, of abandoning them, of not caring enough. They will paint your refusal to be controlled as an act of aggression. But remember, setting a boundary is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of love, a love for yourself and for what is sacred within you. The Stoics teach that external things, praise, blame, approval, criticism, are beyond our control and therefore must not govern our choices. So it must be with your boundaries. You cannot set your limits based on whether others approve. You cannot determine your worth based on how others react to your strength. You must choose your boundaries based on reason, on self-respect, and on the knowledge that your life is a trust given to you alone. Toxic people will not stop on their own. They will not wake up one day and decide to respect you simply because they should. Respect is not given to those who beg for it. It is demanded by those who live. They play the victim to avoid accountability. There is a deep kind of deception that poisons not through force, but through pity. It is not always the tyrant who causes the most destruction, but often the one who wears the mask of helplessness, who wraps themselves in sorrow and confusion to escape the consequences of their own actions. Toxic people are masters of this art. When confronted with the harm they cause, when asked to stand before the truth of their behavior, they do not reflect, they do not repent, they retreat into the well-rehearsed role of the victim. At first, you hesitate to accuse. How could someone who seems so broken, so misunderstood, so wounded, possibly be manipulative? Compassion stirs within you, and rightly so. For to feel compassion is human. But compassion without discernment is a tool in the hands of the corrupt. It becomes a leash fastened around your neck, a weapon turned inward against your own judgment. And this is what the toxic person relies on: your decency, your mercy, your unwillingness to see someone suffer, even when their suffering is largely self-created or exaggerated to avoid responsibility. The Stoics teach us to see clearly, 8 to strip away illusion, to separate what is true from what merely appears to be true. Toxic people count on your hesitation to look deeper. They know that few will press hard against tears, that few will question a trembling voice or a downcast eye. So they craft their sorrow carefully, laying it out like a shield. Every mistake becomes a misunderstanding. Every cruelty becomes a reaction. Every betrayal becomes a symptom of the wounds they claim you cannot possibly understand. But observe closely. Watch how their sorrow appears only when they are cornered, only when accountability is demanded. Notice how it vanishes once the threat of consequence is removed. True pain does not weaponize itself. True remorse does not seek to erase the damage it has done, it seeks to repair it. Toxic people are not interested in repair, only in escape. You will find yourself second-guessing reality. You will wonder if perhaps you are too harsh, too unforgiving. You will be tempted to step back, to comfort them, to silence your rightful anger. This is not compassion. This is manipulation at its most effective, because it convinces you that to defend your boundaries, to name wrongdoing, is itself a kind of cruelty. It makes you the villain for daring to name the truth. There is an old story about a wolf who was caught stealing from a village. When confronted, it threw itself on the ground, howling and whimpering, pleading that it was starving, that it had no choice, that it was driven by forces too great to resist. Moved by pity, the villagers forgave the wolf, loosened the snares, and turned away. And by nightfall, more lambs were dead than ever before, not because the wolf was truly helpless, but because it had learned that pity was a sharper weapon than teeth. This is the lesson you must learn if you are to protect your peace. Feeling sorry for someone does not obligate you to excuse their behavior. Understanding their pain does not require you to carry the weight of their choices. The Stoics teach that while we should be compassionate toward all, we must also be ruthless in our commitment to truth. Sympathy cannot blind judgment. Mercy cannot destroy justice. Toxic people fear accountability because accountability demands change. It demands reflection, humility, a willingness to see oneself clearly, and that is the one thing they will not do. It is easier to blame, easier to cry, easier to paint themselves as martyrs than to take the difficult road of owning their actions and choosing a different path. They would rather drag others into their narrative of helplessness than stand alone in the light of their own responsibility. You will notice patterns. Every broken relationship is never their fault. Every lost opportunity was because of someone else's sabotage. Every criticism they receive is unfair. Every setback is an injustice. They are perpetual victims in a world that is always conspiring against them, a world that strangely includes anyone who dares to hold them accountable. You could approach them with gentleness, with patience, with a heart full of hope, and still they would find a way to twist your care into an attack, your honesty into betrayal. You must understand that true strength lies not in how much you can endure at the hands of such people, but in how willing you are to walk away when the pattern becomes clear. It is not your responsibility to rehabilitate those who refuse to even admit they need it. It is not your task to carry the guilt they have crafted for you. It is your duty to protect your soul from the slow erosion that comes from being endlessly entangled in someone else's endless tragedy. The toxic person's victimhood is not a cry for help, it is a fortress. It shields them from having to look inward. It arms them against those who would dare to ask for accountability. And every time you excuse, justify, or absorb their false narrative, you lay another brick in the wall they hide behind. But you must be wiser. You must be braver. The Stoics teach that external events, even the cries and accusations of others, are outside your control, and thus must not sway the governance of your own soul. If someone chooses to play the victim rather than to own their choices, that is their path to walk, not yours to carry. Your duty is to truth. Your duty is to virtue. Your duty is to protect the temple of your own mind against the storms others may try to conjure. Toxic people will say you abandoned them. They will say you were cruel, heartless, selfish. But remember, those who are committed to truth, to growth, to responsibility, will always honor you for your boundaries. Only those committed to their own self-deception will resent you for refusing to play a role in their endless theater of blame. Choosing to step away is not cruelty. It is not betrayal. It is clarity. It is strength. It is the necessary separation between your peace and their chaos, between your growth and their stagnation, between your future and their endless recycling of the past. Remember this: evil thrives in confusion, but it dies in clarity. The clearer you see, the stronger you become. The stronger you become, the freer you live. Choose yourself. Choose your peace. Stop evil, not with anger, but with unwavering clarity. And never, ever apologize for choosing the life your soul was born to live.